Your opinionated uncle has something really special for you today. I'm so jaded with books. As much as I want this to be my own little booktube channel, as much as I want to review things that other people don't want to review, I'm almost at the point where I think, everything that's published these days is predictable. Everybody that comments on politics and religion all say the same thing. They personalize it. They basically say that faith is a choice and they privatize it. Their politics are always relentlessly anti-Trump if it's written in the last 10 years. But it's always a sort of a spin-off of George Orwell. Just the predictability and the limits of the depth to which fiction will examine any topic of politics or religion. It's always so predictable at this point. Even in the greats, especially in the great stuff. Piranesi, oh God, I was like, oh, it's going to be New Age bullshit, and it totally was. So I start looking at some Christian literature. Now, Christian literature, as much as I want to enjoy it, anything contemporary, and there's plenty of good stuff. There's A Canticle for Leibowitz, there's Lord of the World, there's Brother Elijah or Father Elijah. There are some great ones out there, right? Few and far between. But for end of the world stuff, besides Lord of the World by Benson, it's always going to be dispensationalist, Israel first, potboiler stuff. It's either going to be Dan Brown stuff or it's going to be the Left Behind series. So I've read the Left Behind series. They were dreadful, but I got through them all. You kind of get addicted to them. They are readable, but I recently tried to read them again, but in light of all the diabolical stuff going on over in the Middle East, I just couldn't stomach any of it. And I also read the Christ Clone trilogy by a guy named Beauseigneur, I think his name is. That's got a kind of a cool premise. It's where the Shroud of Turin is determined to be real, and they extract DNA from it, and they try to clone Christ, but what they actually end up cloning is the Antichrist. It's your typical warning about science, and then it does a pretty good end of the world stuff. I mean, it gets very happy clappy, manna dropping down from heaven, and the characters in the end are not very well drawn. It's kind of good at describing all of the end times events, but the character stuff is terrible. So basically all of this Christian apocalyptic stuff is kind of shitty. And I was always thinking to myself, what I really want to read is a gritty, genuinely good literature, like poetically languaged book about the end of the world. I don't even mind if it's going to be dispensationalist. I just want something that doesn't look like it's made that the film would show up on the Hallmark Channel. Well, I got my wish. Somewhere along the way, I hope you can't hear my dog snoring, but that's part of what makes this channel the channel, I suppose. Somewhere along the way, I was looking at reviews on Amazon or somewhere of one of these typical Left Behind series, and someone mentioned a book called We All Fall Down. I looked it up on Amazon. A few people gave it 5 stars, but there were a lot of 4 stars. Talking about the profanity, lots of violence, graphic violence, rape even, or can't even say that, grape. Really an unlikable protagonist who curses all the time. But you know what? I started reading this book today, and I don't want to spoil it. I'm doing this review when I'm only 50 pages into it. It's a pretty short book, 230 pages or so. And I'm telling you, I don't need to finish it to give you the highest recommendation. I have absolute confidence that this book is going to stick the language. This, and this is one of those frustrating things to say. I hate saying it. This is the thing that frustrates me. This is, I said this about pilgrims, but actually a lot of pilgrims did frustrate me in some of the moral dilemmas, where I said, if I ever got off my ass and wrote a novel, this is what I'd like to write. No, that Pilgrims wasn't really it. It had all these fanciful descriptions of the inside of the UFO that was going through the Stations of the Cross. I wouldn't have written that. This is Charles Bukowski and Bret Easton Ellis write about the apocalypse. This has beautiful turns of phrase throughout the whole book, throughout the descriptions. I am held in rapt attention, while at the same time, the main protagonist is this very unlikable guy who cusses every second word. Unless you think that it's just done for shock effect, he has an interaction with another character where that character points out, he's like, you've got a real potty mouth. And I'm thinking of it in terms of, I think what the author is employing here is what David Mamet did in Glengarry Glen Ross. We're talking about somebody who is emotionally and spiritually stunted, has a limited means of expressing themselves, like how I went at that pivotal moment of expressing myself. Went all meta. And so he cusses a lot. This book is not about saying, ooh, you swear and you're going to get with Jesus and you're going to stop swearing. This character is he's thrust into an incredible situation where the rapture has happened. So yes, right off the bat, I thoroughly disagree with the theology. It's completely and utterly dispensational. Part of it takes place in Israel, but it takes place during the reign of the Antichrist. The rapture had have gone away, and it's talking about survival in the world during the tribulation. And it's rough, people. Like, even in the first 50 pages, I've read stuff that Stephen King probably wouldn't put in his books. We're talking something more along the lines of the extreme horror of like Edward Lee. Well, not that far, but more gruesome and graphic than certain things that you'd see from Stephen King. Only here's the thing. He doesn't describe them in lurid detail. He doesn't shy away from, there's a grape scene of a character, and it's not there for shock effect. It is absolutely shocking, but it has literary integrity for why it's there, and he manages to describe it and convey the absolute horror of it in very spare prose. Not as spare as, say, Cormac McCarthy, who I can't stand. I think his prose is so spare, it's actually pretentious. Normally you think of pretentious as being people who are overly wordy, but he goes to the other extreme and becomes pretentious from the other end by barely saying anything. This book is not for the squeamish. This book is not for somebody who goes to their evangelical church and just wants to read Left Behind novels. This is very evangelical. I've looked into the author. There's a review on Amazon that says he was a school teacher, and that it's a review from one of his former students who said that this guy put the seeds of faith in him 15 to 20 years before he actually came to faith in Christ. This is a Christian novel for grown-ups only. This is a hard R novel about the end times. The writing this is not just a violent novel. The descriptions grabbed me right off the bat. How it's his turns of phrase. There's just little things. There was something I loved. He's describing this girl who he met, and where is it? He just says it's like this or like that, and yeah. She moved with a tough, confident gait that caused her skirt to swish back and forth against her legs, like two puppy dogs panting for attention. Just little things like that. I out of context, that just sounds like he's some pervy guy. But he is kind of pervy. But he is wrapping up lurid, really X-rated material. Not X-rated. We're not talking Lolita here or something, but he is describing horror, like true horror, end of the world stuff, using a spare yet lyrical prose that just I keep trying to read quickly because it does scan quickly. You could read this book very fast, but then I keep going back because I go, no, pay attention to what you just read. And there are just beautiful, beautiful moments. Let me give you another one. This is going to be more of a description. And bear in mind, like this is what I'm about to read to you is in between him using words like the F word for homosexuals. Not that he's calling this is what these are true to the characters. Okay, he's not doing it for shock value. He's not doing it out of hate or anything like that. But it does not shy away from these sorts of things. Where's the bit? So he's describing walking across the sands. The sun has disappeared. It's one of those moments in here it is. Yeah, here it is. So it's the fourth trumpet has sounded, the sun has disappeared, and so on. So he writes, "We rode for what felt like decades into the forever night until the warm glow of rediscovered freedom disintegrated into a terrifying, timeless mindfuck. The darkness was simultaneously invisible and omnipresent. It crushed me with its engulfing presence while tearing at my brain with its intangible distance. Without the sun, time became meaningless, dissolving into an eternal black moment. My horse navigated the desert terrain, requiring neither direction nor control from me, and as I pushed nowhere, I dissolved into an abandoned ghost, listlessly hurtling through a vast, crushingly compacted void. I was neither protected nor persecuted, neither observed nor ignored, neither hated nor loved. I was a spark of useless consciousness, rapidly traveling nowhere, through nothing." Now that might sound like word salad to some people. Oh, no, it's phenomenal. It's fantastic. I had a high school teacher, English teacher, Mrs. Evans, who said to me once, "Stephen, that you may one day write novels that make millions of dollars, but you'll never write literature." And it was such a diss, but it was also a challenge. And I've not taken her up on that challenge yet. I've always remembered that. And I don't know whether it's paralyzing or invigorating, a bit of both. And I think to myself, I hate the fact that this is the book that or something like this is what I would write. I always want to tackle Christian themes with a believable protagonist. And some people won't find it believable. They won't find the fact that he talks about like very graphic sexual things. He's done terrible things. He swears a lot. He doesn't shy away from the fact he's really angry and therefore quite unlikable. This is a guy living in the aftermath of the rapture. He knows at this point that God is real. They all know it. They've had the earthquakes. They have had the nuclear wars. There's a really cool description of what the Antichrist is like. He's far more of a bureaucrat, and it's far more leaning toward the banality of evil than anything really dramatic. But the edifice of the world government is very, very horrific. The description of him being taken in a ship from Spain to America it will give you nightmares if you really allow it to. You could just say to yourself, "Oh, he's just trying to be edgy." He's not. He's writing a character, and the funny thing is that there's a chap that I know here in Bermuda who I've known him for a long time. I kind of say we're sort of friends. I don't think we've spoken in the last 2 years. We haven't had a fight or anything, but we've just sort of drifted away. And I thought to myself that the main character is this guy. Like if somehow this got turned into a play or basically just when I'm reading the prose, I'm picturing this guy. I can say his name, Charlie. Doesn't matter. Because there are real people like this. And Which begs the question then, who the heck did Brian Caldwell, the author, write this for? Because goody-goody Christians, who are ostensibly the heroes of this novel, they're not going to read this book. They're going to be like, and I've seen reviews on Amazon, they say it's vile. People give it 1 star and so on. Even the people that like it can't bring themselves to give it more than 4 stars because they'll say, oh, I have to dock it a star because of all the profanity and the gratuitous violence. I'm like, it's not gratuitous. It's graphic. I'm like, you're literally describing the reign of Antichrist. Like, let's be grown up here. I don't feel that any of the violence has been just for the sake of, ooh, let's see if we can gross people out. You know, it would be easy to think, oh, okay, I'm going to write a really grown-up version of the apocalypse. Let's, like, just deliberately gross out the Christians, ha, ha, ha. Well, there is gross stuff there, but it's integral to the story. So far, I have not read anything where I went, oh, that was just unnecessary. I mean, you could always say, oh, you didn't have to include that. You could have just said something else. But the fact that he did include that, it doesn't feel gratuitous. It just feels very graphic, very hard R, but closer to how things would be. And I say realistic, or how things would be, having accepted the fantastical premise of the dispensationalist post-rapture situation that the world finds itself in. So if you can buy all that, then you've got an incredible novel. Again, I'm nowhere near finished, but I am doing this review now because I don't want to inadvertently poison the well or seed any kind of spoilers in it, because I have no idea what happens. I have a suspicion of what I think might happen, but I don't know. And so I'm deliberately doing this review early so that I don't inadvertently hint or imply or any kind of spoiler. I'm just really looking forward to reading this. Again, it's called We All Fall Down. Look at this. This does not look like a Christian novel. This looks like a nihilistic novel. This looks like I've got a few other books on the shelves. This looks like something by some French existentialist. You know, it looks like a punk rock thing. It looks like something written by Bret Easton Ellis or Bukowski. Expect that, but find this book. This is a book I would send to my brother who's interested in consciousness studies. He's a scientist and all that, but he's nowhere near accepting Jesus or anything. And even so, I'd be like, well, brother, I mean, I don't accept the theology of this. I don't see this scenario ever actually happening. But this is for anyone that ever told you that you couldn't write a really cool literary novel about a Christian version of the end of days, this is it. It's not everybody's cup of tea. You got to have a strong stomach and an open mind for this one. But I'm so glad it exists. I'm just jealous that I didn't write it. But, no excuse not to write my own novel. Cheers.